This is Inside the Locker Room, where football isn't just a game, it's a war zone. Every take, unfiltered. Every prediction, ruthless. From Sunday battles to primetime legends. We break down the matchups, the mind games, and the moments that define champions. Fantasy, film, trash talk, all inside the locker room. So if you came for smoke, you're in the fire now.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Locker Room. I believe this is episode 25. We got most of the crew in the house. Should have a couple more joining us in a minute. Crazy day of games. Thursday game was great as well. Seahawks versus Cardinals. How you doing, Ben? And initial thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. And yeah, no, today was crazy. Last 2 weeks have been crazy. Sorry guys for, missing last week, but we're here today recapping weeks 3 and 4. Today was honestly a crazy slate of games. We saw the Giants get their first W over the undefeated Chargers. Just had the Ravens get smacked, to be quite honest, as well. And yeah, just a lot of stuff to get on into today and a lot of football to talk about.
Yeah, speaking of the Ravens, they had, I think, 6 defensive players down, and then
Sheesh.
Lamar goes down with a hamstring injury, and then they lose Nate Wiggins as well, like prominent draft pick. So, it's not looking great for the Ravens. And then on top of that, they're not exactly executing well. Back-to-back weeks with Derrick Henry having big fumbles. Didn't fumble today, so I guess it's one positive going into next week for the Ravens. But 1-3 so far. Not exactly what you want to see, but you just want to kind of go around the different games to start, basically.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about the Ravens Chiefs one a little bit. I could talk a little bit more about that. I guess it was kind of weird to see like Lamar kind of just leave so soon, and then at first they said it was a hamstring injury, and then it was a elbow injury or something. It's like, which one is it? So I don't know if he straight up quit on the team. I'm sure hope not from the former MVP, but it's definitely not looking good for Harbaugh and their squad right now. It's their worst start they've had in like quite some time. I can't remember the last time the Ravens started 1-4, especially after expectations we had for them this year. But I guess like diving into the Chiefs side of things a little bit, we instantly saw their wide receiver room get healthier again, and then that payoff for the Chiefs offense. Hollywood Brown was back. Xavier Worthy was back, I believe. So, Pat throwing for 4 touchdowns clearly showed that that the Chiefs are ready to play today. And, it's tough to win an Arrowhead, as we know, but the Chiefs look like Baltimore's kryptonite again today.
Yeah, the Chiefs looked like the good old Chiefs, honestly, today. Definitely, I think Xavier Worthy was the star of the game. He had a good game in itself, but also he just opened up the entire offense when he's on the field. Fastest player in NFL history that can beat you just running down the field. He can beat press coverage. He can do a little bit of everything, can get you on the end around. And then, as soon as that happened, Mahomes looked great. Mahomes found, I think, three different players for touchdowns. It might actually have been 4 different, might have just been 4 different players for touchdowns. But I know Tyquan Thornton was one guy I was saying to stay away from. He did end up, I think he only had 1 catch, but he did catch it for a 12-yard touchdown. But yeah, just spreading the ball around. They look great. Yeah, I think Pacheco even caught a touchdown. So what would you put the panic meter at for the Baltimore Ravens right now?
Let's see who they have next week as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but let's see that real quick. It's not really going to determine too much. Okay, so they have the Texans next week. Texans just won today. But I think they could bounce back next week against Houston, considering honestly CJ Stroud has not looked like, the CJ Stroud that we're used to so far this season. But they did come up big against, they did come up big against Titans today. Their defense showed out big as well. And even Stingley, playing in the game as well after, there was speculation that he wasn't going to play. Came up big. But as far as the Ravens go, I feel like they have to bounce back. This is not the team that we're used to seeing as far as the offensive struggles that we've seen from Lamar Jackson. But 7 injuries on defense, that's going to be the big question mark too, is if their defense could just get healthier. We saw all the offseason acquisitions, but it seems like they're just back at square one with these injuries every year on their defense.
Yeah, and it was tough to tell when Lamar came off because I saw him throw his helmet. I couldn't tell if it was just frustration or if it was frustration over the injury.
Mhm.
And I mean, hamstrings, I mean, maybe it's a hamstring and an elbow. Um, yeah, variety injury is never good either. But I mean, sometimes hamstrings can be those lingering injuries. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens if he's even in the lineup next week. I'm sure if he can be out there, he will. But yeah, I think for me, I'd probably put the panic meter at like a solid 7, maybe even an 8 for the Ravens right now. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I they are going through the gauntlet of their schedule right now, but as far as I know, they have one of the tougher schedules in the NFL anyways. So it doesn't exactly get too much easier.
Yeah, they got the Rams right after Houston, so not too easy of a game right there.
No, definitely. I mean, I guess I'll just touch on the Thursday game before we go back into the Sunday games real
That's
quick.
right.
Seahawks looked really, really good first half, and then all the way into the fourth quarter, they took a 20-6 lead with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But shout out to Marvin Harrison Jr. He went from looking like a deer in the headlights, for like this big prospect that should be doing everything, and then he did bounce back, and he bounced back against the Seahawks' best corner, Devin Witherspoon, as well. Caught a nice grabbed right along the sidelines, I think on the 10-yard line, to set him up for that big touchdown, where literally just exactly what you want to see from Marvin Harrison, just big and tall, just caught it right over Devin Witherspoon. Luckily, Seahawks were able to clutch it out. JSN with a sneaky double move. It wasn't the traditional cut inside, then back outside double move. It was just like a stutter where he just stopped, just just made the DB totally stop, and then just ran by him. Which I think was like a 30 or 40-yard gain, set up the game-winning touchdown game-winning field goal by Jason Myers. So, any thoughts on that game, or you want to bounce around to a different game?
I mean, yeah, I was proud of, another good outing from Sam Darnold. I think he's gonna, continue to work in that Seattle offense. As long as Carbonet gets more healthy, Kenneth Walker, tries to, find his role in this year's offense more. I feel like they'll be a better unit as a whole. Especially, they still have Cooper Cup out there, so there's still, a lot of pieces that I feel like some people forget about. But
Definitely.
yeah, I feel like also with Sunday's game, going back to that real quick, we had a lot of close games today also. We saw Tampa in the first half look completely lost against the Eagles defense, to be quite honest. Like Saquon Barkley had like the easiest rushing touchdown of his life at one point. They ran a fake tush push to
That was
to
beautiful.
yeah, I was like, man, these Eagles, man. And it's, the usual Saquon, tush push, but they ran it the opposite way of what we thought they were. But yeah, Igbuka still looked good in that game. I will say, I don't know. I heard a lot of Eagles fans talking trash, talking about how Igbuka was getting locked up, this and that. And while DeJean, did have some good battles with him, I will say, DeJean is still a lockdown corner for the Eagles defense, who's also quite versatile. I feel like Igbuka, with the 70-yard, reception touchdown that he had, and just, some of the catches he's still making week to week to week for Tampa Bay. It's great to see. But, Tampa
Already
did
4
end up.
touchdowns on the year. It's pretty crazy.
Exactly. And, Tampa Bay did end up losing the game. And it was honestly a combination of penalties and some other things again for Tampa. But yeah, Eagles take that one this time, and they come over Tampa in their own house, might I
And
add.
I really think they missed Mike Evans because while Ibuka still had a good game, I think he had like 11 targets, only caught 4 of them. So they were able to definitely like pinpoint on him more so today.
Yeah,
Mike Evans just like, whether he's catching highlight reel catches or he's just literally just spreading out the defense, he makes such a big impact on the field and for Baker Mayfield. I
yeah,
kind of
and
expected a little bit bigger game from Sterling Shepard today, but he didn't really
mm,
do too much. But Bucky Irving came
him
back
too.
to life. It was a Bucky Irving game for sure.
Yeah, and on the Eagle side of things, again, a little bit real quick too. Jalen Hurts, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. So continuing that streak of, not necessarily passing for too many yards, but he's still getting the job done and scoring. This offense still obviously gives him plenty of time to throw too, even if he does take that route. But I guess even the next game we can dive into a little bit here, just a tad. But another close game. Rams come up top over the Colts, and then also the Bears with a very late score against the Raiders. DeAndre Swift took it in for 6, and the Bears actually won by 1 point. So, we saw a good amount of Ashton Genty actually today. Had very good fantasy numbers for anybody out there starting Genty today. And yeah, but Geno Smith and the Raiders, they fall to 1-3 as well. Anything you want to talk about with the Colts today and how they looked against Stafford? I thought Stafford still looked like vintage Stafford. Devontae went in for a score, and then the Raiders dropping to the mine's boggled right now.
Oh, you're
Raiders
good.
lost to the was just talking about it.
I was about to start talking about something else, so I definitely just mind boggled myself as well. But Daniel Jones,
the Bears.
he was one that was on my sit list, and yeah, he didn't look the same. He didn't look like the QB4 Daniel Jones that he has through this point in the year, through multiple interceptions. Rams defense, they had the 5th highest pressure rate coming into the game. They definitely played a good game. I mean, it ended up being a very close game. The Colts did show that they did deserve to be 3-0. But the Rams, they were able to come out on top. I guess Puka Nacua, we haven't talked about. He had another stellar game.
True.
If he wasn't already leading for Offensive Player of the Year, I think he definitely is now. Especially when he was going head to head with Jonathan Taylor, who was one of the other leading candidates. And unfortunately, he lost out on a 50-yard touchdown because of Adonai Mitchell. I hope he bounced back with a couple nice grabs towards the end of the game, but you just don't really want to see that when he was getting a chance to play because of some injuries. And then he would have had a long touchdown, but didn't secure it, just bobbled it right on the 1-yard line. Classic, just throws it out the back of the end zone, touchback. And then he also had the holding penalty on that long Jonathan Taylor, or what would have been a long Jonathan Taylor touchdown. But I think the Colts still proved that they are for real, because this was a big measuring stick game. The Rams came out on top, and I think they're the better team. I thought it going in. I still think it after they win as well. But I think the Colts definitely showed they're for real.
Yeah, and even though, their defense did suffer a little bit with Matt Stafford throwing for 3 touchdowns, almost 400 yards, threw for 375 on the day. Still a decent outing from the Colts, and they still held their own, went down to the wire. So another good game right there. And then, I mean, honestly, I feel like we can save the Giants and Chargers for last. We'll go to that game in a second. But I guess two quick ones real quick as well. Panthers get demolished by the Patriots at home. Drake May with a bounce back game. He throws for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Diggs also looking good in that game. First big game for him this season. And then the Lions absolutely thrashing the Browns. In my opinion, I think it's time for the Browns to already sit Joe Flacco. He's a turnover machine. He's honestly been playing absolutely horrible. And while I absolutely love Joe Flacco as a person, as a guy, there's no shade on Flacco. I think it's not really helping the Browns at all. Like, they have a solid defense, from week to week, depending on who they're playing. Like, they beat Green Bay last week.
They had the number one defense coming into this game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like a weird situation for the Browns, because it's like, we all know about the situation with the rookie quarterbacks, but in my opinion, they just can't keep continuing to trout out Joe Flacco. If they want to win a game, like this could last like more weeks, but they have found a win against Green Bay last week, so I will say that. But as far as the Lions go, Amon-Ra had another big day for multiple scores again, another touchdown machine, and Gibbs and company looked crew with Jared Goff out there. Any comments on those games?
Yeah, I mean the Lions. The Lions playing the Browns. So I mean, last week Packers lost 13-10 to them. And so I mean, I dropped the Packers a lot. I raised up the Browns quite a bit in my power rankings. So this was a big, again, measuring stick game, because the Packers were able to beat the Lions week 1, I believe it was, if not week 2, early on in the season. Either way, they already have a head-to-head win, but then they lost to the Browns, and then we see an absolute domination, 34-10 by the Lions. So to me, I had the Lions at 3 in my power rankings, and I moved the Packers down to 6 last week. I think that only more fully supports the Lions being there at number 3. And the Packers, I mean, they're playing right now. Up 7-0 over the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know who got the first touchdown, but
it was a Dobbs touchdown. Romeo Dobbs.
Dobbs. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a guy that just, he's just a gamer. He steps up anytime he needs to. He's like kind of the forgotten man sometimes. But yeah, he's probably Jordan Love's most reliable receiver. And with Jaden Reed going down, he's definitely going to have to continue to step up.
Mhm.
I think Matthew Golden could have a good game, but
Yeah, he
we'll
has a
see. We'll see.
reception for 45 yards already, so we'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that was another guy on my start list. I mean, we'll get into it tomorrow, so I won't go too much into fantasy football and the Adams Apples segment and stuff. But
Mhm.
let's jump over to the Dublin game this morning. I
Mhm.
wasn't able to watch much of it live, but I saw the highlights. DK Metcalf, 80-yard touchdown. It's the longest touchdown or longest play from scrimmage of the year so far. They need a lot more of that. That's what I expected coming into this game. And it finally happened. But Aaron Rodgers to DK Metcalf, you expect that connection to be strong. So hopefully for the Steelers, that was them just kind of waking up.
Mhm.
I was kind of sad that Jalen Warren was out this morning because I was sleeping and I did not look before the game started. So I'm sure there's many people out there that were in the same boat as me that left Jalen Warren in their lineup and were very saddened by that news that he didn't play because he was expected to play. So,
Mhm.
but it can happen at any point. Carson Wentz kind of looked like the old Carson Wentz for a lot of the game, but then he
Yeah.
bounced back towards the end of the game. They made it a close game for sure. Jordan Mason didn't do quite what he did last week, but you expected it to be a little bit tamer going against that Steelers defensive line. And I mean, the Steelers defensive line, they look like the patented Steelers, the kind of football that they've won for 20, 30 years, that
Mhm.
steel curtain defense, so to speak. Justin Jefferson finally had a very, very good Justin Jefferson game, 10 receptions, 126 yards. And then shout out to Jordan Addison coming off suspension and showing up instantly, 4 receptions for 116 yards.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, like I honestly thought the game was lost by the Vikings O-line. They absolutely crumpled in that game. They allowed the Steelers to sack
Great
Carson
point.
Wentz 6 times. I thought their line looked pretty bad, and even towards the end of the game, like with the penalties as well, the false starts, I think the almost delay of games as well from Carson Wentz. I mean, the offense as a whole just didn't look good. That final drive there, attempting to take the game. They were only down by 3. I mean, I thought this game was over at first. I think they were down like 24-6 or something like that early on. But then, Vikings started to come back a little bit, as you said. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson getting in the mix there. But, huge day from Kenneth Gainwell. I believe he
Yep.
went in for 3 scores. Is that right? 2 scores. Sorry.
I think it was
But, yeah.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, he went in for 2 touchdowns. But regardless, DK grabbed that third one, I believe, as well. So,
Mhm.
just Aaron Rodgers with a good outing this time. And, we'll see if the Pittsburgh Steelers can keep this up. It's the 3rd win of the year. So they're 3-1 right now. So maybe they'll prove us wrong. And also a little bit of a, honorable mention. I forgot to mention from the Tampa game, backtracking real quick. There was history made. There was a 65-yard kick from field
Yes.
goal from McLaughlin. Beautiful kick. It's the longest outdoor kick in NFL history. So that was cool to see. And, it was funny at first because Tampa Bay, they had a blocked punt. And then in my head, I'm going, that's the second blocked kick they've had on special teams in the second week in a row. I was like, their special teams coach is going to make them run laps. But I guess it's just going to be everybody but McLaughlin this week because he made history. But going back,
And he hit a
yeah,
58 yarder as well too. Yeah,
yeah,
like he
exactly.
was. Yeah, anyone that has fractional field goals, I like to do that in some of my leagues. That's a ton of points right there.
Yeah, and that pretty much wraps it up, I guess, for what I got to say. Actually, no, I was gonna say this about the Vikings game as well. Buddy Craig, from the show, he made a very good point about the Minnesota Vikings team this year. And if you think about it, it's pretty much exactly, they've been in the situation before. Rookie quarterback or a new quarterback, they fall down. They still win, they look good, but the very next week they kind of come back to reality. I feel like the Vikings have been used to the situation before. So, hopefully JJ McCarthy can come back healthy in a couple weeks or however long it may take. But yeah, this Vikings offense, and their defense as well is always serviceable and bailing them out here and there. But their offense and their quarterback play is going to be the question mark for me.
No, definitely. You want to jump in here, Deuce? We were just talking Steelers and Vikings. Did you get a chance to watch that one?
All I know is that I picked the Vikings to win. Unfortunately, the Steelers won. Steelers are a better team than I really did expect. Ever since the Aaron Rodgers signing, we were like, okay, yeah, they're going to be a little bit better. But I just didn't think they'd have the start to the season that they're having right now. That's pretty much it.
No, that's fair. And honestly, to me, it gives even more props to the Seahawks when they were able to go across the country, which would have felt like a 7 a.m. start time game, and then to win by 2 touchdowns, 30-17, just the other day. But yeah, I mean, they were super high on Kenneth Gainwell, the Steelers, and it shows why, because he just stepped right in there for Jaylen Warren, and I mean, just missed the century mark, 99 yards on just 19 carries, but then he also had 6 catches for 35 yards. So I mean, he was just doing a little bit of everything. But can jump around to a different game. Why don't we go
we could do Saints Bills and then Falcons Commanders real quick. Another
Sounds good.
2-pack.
Yeah. Go ahead. You want to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, today we saw the Washington Commanders travel to Atlanta today. Big game from Michael Penix today as he throws over 300 yards and 2 scores. We saw Bijan running for one as well. So this offense is continuing to look good. I mean, we even saw Kyle Pitts in the end zone today, so that was a good sight to see. But I honestly wanted to make another point too about Washington. I thought they still made this game interesting for most of the part. I thought they weren't going to go down easily today, but just the firepower from the Falcons offense, I believe. I mean, just totally, eventually lasted them out. And, they only lost the game by, 2 scores, but I feel like the score doesn't really reflect the whole entire game as much as it should. But it was just, a turnover battle from both sides too. And then with the Saints and Bills, I thought Spencer Rattler looked a lot better than we expected today. And it's another, close-ish game for most of the part of that game. But then, towards the end of it, the Bills squeak out, scoring some more points. But yeah, like I said, Spencer didn't look that bad today. And Saints still have some positives to go off of from today.
No, most definitely. And yeah, I mean, shout out to the Falcons for bouncing back after getting shut out 30-0 last week by the Panthers. So, I mean, people were freaking out about Michael Penix, saying, oh, maybe he's a bust. And Michael Penix, trust me, he is not a bust. He is a very, very good player. Carried the Washington Huskies team to the national championship the year before he was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's good to see them bounce back. Love to see Bijan just fully open or fully laid out in the open field as well. So yeah, that was a great showing from the Falcons to bounce back. I mean, shout out Mariota for almost going 2-0, filling in for Jaden Daniels. He still played a pretty good game. I think he did have the 1 pick. Deebo Samuel made a very nice couple very nice catches along the sidelines as well. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, Chris Rodriguez, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. It's a hard backfield to figure out. You also had Jeremy McNichols last week going off for that big, I think it was a 60-yard touchdown. So they split carries evenly this week. Chris Rodriguez and Bill Krosky-Merritt both had 7 carries, and they both excelled. Chris Rodriguez 59 yards, 8.4 average. The long of 48 yards that he had right at the beginning of the game. And then Bill, 47 yards on those 7 carries for 6.7 yard average. So, I mean, you can't really ask for better efficiency there. So, I mean, if the running back by committee keeps working, they're probably going to keep doing it, which frustrates me because I just want to see Bill Krosky-Merritt just go off. But yeah, it's a better way to have winning football and keep your guys healthy for sure. Any thoughts there, Deuce? Or
I'm just ready to talk about baseball.
Okay. We'll just get through the NFL.
Yeah,
we'll get into baseball.
We got 2 more games left. I mean, we saw also another close game that came down to the wire. Niners, Jags. Jags took the crown. So my buddy likes to call Trevor Lawrence Tom Petty. Trevor Lawrence gets the W. I thought Travis Etienne looked pretty good. We saw, older, Etienne that we're kind of used to compared to
Yeah, he's
last
got the juice
season.
back.
He's got the juice back. Went in for a score today and 124 yards. For the Niners side of things, they kind of come down to earth a little bit. I think Ricky Pearsall was in the blue tent for a minute. I'm not sure if he came back actually.
He did not come back. No.
Yeah, so that's not good.
And he looked really good. He looked really good to
yeah.
start the game too. Jawan Jennings also on I think it was a touchdown, or it ended up being on like the 1 yard line. But either way, yeah, that he also went down. I think he did come back though, but definitely not what you want to see for an already banged up team. And
No.
Brock Purdy coming back from injury. I don't like, some people are saying maybe he's still injured because he didn't look that great. I really don't think he's still. I think he was 100% because why would you bring him back when Mac Jones is like super hot right now? If he wasn't,
he was
100%.
questionable last week, so you'd figure that that last week was the extra week that they wanted to give him. So
No,
I agree with
exactly.
that.
And maybe he's a little rusty, but I mean, obviously, I think everyone knows I'm a Seahawks fan. Any watchers out there? So I love to see the 49ers take their first L. The Jaguars defense sneakily were a top 10 defense coming to this game, and they proved for 3 quarters at least that they are a very, very good defensive team. Travis Hunter also had his long reception of the year. I think it was like a 28-yard reception.
Nice.
He looked a lot better. Trevor Lawrence, first half, actually looked like a first overall pick. He did almost throw a pick in the second half. It ended up getting dropped, but he didn't play as good. But at the same time, they had a big lead, so then they were running the ball a little bit more. So his numbers didn't really go up that much. But Jaguars are 3-1 team. I don't think many people thought that they would be 3-1 through 4 weeks. And then, now the 49ers dropped the 3-1. So as far as the NFC West landscape, we got 3-1 teams now, with the Rams winning today, the Seahawks winning on Thursday, and the 49ers taking their first L today. So, I mean, again, probably a lot of people didn't have the NFC West as arguably the best division in football, or a top 2 or 3 division in football, but that's what we're seeing so far. Especially when the Seahawks only L is to a division opponent as well. And then, Cardinals, I mean, we're beating up on each other. It's kind of like the AL East, honestly. Before we get into baseball, I'll draw a parallel right there. Brian Thomas Jr., though, I gotta call him out because, again, he did not look like the crazy good Brian Thomas Jr. from last year. He had 1 catch for 7 yards. I don't know what's going on with him. I really don't. But Brenton Strange had a good game as well. But close game in the end. The Jaguars were handling for most of the game. But I mean, shout out to the 49ers for making a good run. They've now either won by 1 score or lost by 1 score in all 4 games. So they're playing a ton of close games. So we'll see if that ends up being a bad thing going forward for the rest of the season. Were they potentially getting a little bit lucky in some of the other games? We'll find out, because I mean, they did play the Saints in a 1-score game as well. Not to throw shade on the Saints. What other game did you touch on that I didn't talk about?
We only got 1 game left, and it's the Jaxson Dart debut. So we can get right into that. So, I mean, another close game here, a nail biter, actually. First, I gotta apologize to the way I've been writing about the Giants lately. They found their first W today in a trap game that some people were saying, the regular consensus was that the Chargers were going to win today. But Herbert looked completely lost in the first half. I think he had like maybe 20 or 40 like passing yards in total in the first half. It was crazy. The Giants defense was getting to him. They were getting big sacks. And then Jaxson Dart on offense, the very first drive was perfect. They scored. And he'd even throw an incomplete pass. So I thought Dart looked good today. The big win for Giants. And I know MetLife was rocking, but it's kind of a bittersweet victory because, we had injuries on both sides of the ball for not both sides of the ball, but for both teams. We had Joe Alt for the Chargers going out of the game with an ankle injury. That honestly changed the game for me. One of their best offensive linemen, first-round draft pick out of Notre Dame. I mean, the guy's huge. Great offensive lineman.
6'7". He's a massive dude.
It's a big loss for them. No pun intended. And then, for the Giants, they lost Malik Neighbors to a torn ACL injury. Absolutely horrible.
Still got to get confirmed tomorrow, but sadly, I think that's the case.
Yeah, still has to be confirmed, but we're hoping for a speedy recovery for Leak. And it just looked bad. It just looked horrible. Not a pretty sight to see. So Giants do grab their first W of the week of the year. and they travel. I believe they travel to New Orleans next week. They could be home, but you know, maybe they get their next W next week, or maybe the Saints find their first one. We shall see. But I thought Cat Scadaboo looked good as well. I
Amazing.
honestly liked the duo of him and Dart. You know, they seem close off the field as well. So we'll see how this Giants team starts to, you know, kind of shape here. Like I said, going to be different without Malik Neighbors, but an identity, I guess, starting to form for these Giants. And this win is going to be
Definitely.
huge for them. I mean, Adam, do you I guess we can talk a little bit about the Chargers now. What does this loss do you think means to them today? I mean, we saw Hampton get involved more. He went in for a score. He had a
Hampton
really
looked
nice
phenomenal.
run. Looked phenomenal, but you know, still came up with the L. What do you think about these Chargers here after we saw from today?
I mean, losing Joe Alt almost at the very beginning of the game, that's a huge blow. They're already missing Rashawn Slater for the year, so now they were missing both of their starting tackles. In Joe Alt's case, luckily it's just a high ankle sprain. I say just a high ankle sprain, but it could have been a lot worse. So he's probably going to be out a couple weeks. So that is a big blow. But yeah, like you said, Omarion Hampton looked like a first round pick, and he looked great last week. So he's got back-to-back games now.
Yeah, and shout out to
So
Quentin Johnson too. He
yes,
having a crazy year, man. And he's come from nowhere. He's had a bounce back year. Last year he started to take off, but this year he's looked amazing with Herbert
no,
out there.
100%. Yeah, because I mean, he had a few crazy games last year, and everyone's like, okay, he's the stud, but they also showed like the brick hands also. To this point, he might have one or two drops in the season, but I have yet to see one drop by Quentin Johnson this year. So yeah, shout out to him. Really getting in the lab, and it's probably more mental than anything. So just really probably just taking a deep breath and just playing his own game now. But yeah, I gotta give myself a little pat on the back because back in January, right around the Senior Bowl, Jaxson Dart, I thought he was going to be a baller. I thought that he could be the best quarterback in this class, and I think Cam Ward can still be a good quarterback in this league, but he looked abysmal today. He did not look like the first overall pick. And Jaxson Dart, like you said, he went down the field on the very first drive, scored that rushing touchdown, didn't have an incompletion. He showed a little bit of rookie mistakes here and there. I think he took like 5 or 6 sacks. Yeah, but like it's to be expected, and he's also got that like running element too. So it's like Caleb Williams. Sometimes you just think you can juke a guy that used to be able to juke in college, and now everyone's just bigger, faster, stronger. They'll get the angle on you. They're just more technical. But won the game against a 3-0 team. Almost every single person had the Chargers as a top 5 or top 7 team at least. So that's a huge win. I think Brian Dable's probably taking a huge deep breath right now.
Yeah, he gave a huge hug to Jaxson Dart. I knew exactly what that meant too.
Yep.
It was like,
and like you said,
my job saved.
No, 100%. Yeah, I think it's going to be saved maybe for the rest of the year now. We'll see what they can do, but if they're actually able to like win some games and then just look good going into next season with all the young players, but the combination of Scadaboo just being this hard-nosed, run through you player, also can catch a ball at like with the best of them. He's almost like a thicker, slower CMC, which is crazy to say. It's a great comparison. If he can keep playing at this level, he's going to be a stud in the league. So steal in the 4th round for them, but it just allows Jaxson Dart to, like, they can play more like the Ravens now that they with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Jaxson Dart's not as fast as Lamar Jackson, but they can play with this like similar element now. So I'm really excited to watch the New York Giants going forward. It's like you said, it's very sad that Malik Neighbors likely tore his ACL, so he's not going to have as much to work with anymore. But Darius Slayton, he's had many big games in the past. Wan'Dale Robinson looked like Randy Moss last year, last week, I mean. And also Theo Johnson, shout out to him. I don't know the exact reception total, but every other play, it seemed like he was catching a ball. So seems like Jaxson Dart and Theo Johnson have a really good chemistry. Sometimes you just see that because they were probably lining up a lot in drills during the offseason, playing with the second team or whatever. So yeah, really good to see Theo Johnson break out, and I definitely wrote down a couple notes that I'm going to look for Theo Johnson in pretty much all of my leagues to see if he's available. You want any finishing thoughts before we move on to baseball?
I mean, obviously for my Jets tomorrow. I mean, today was more of a peaceful
yeah.
Sunday as we didn't
Good
play
preview.
today. I just got to, sort of just observe the NFL slate today. But for tomorrow, Justin Fields and crew travel to Miami, and they look to get their first win of the season. Both teams looking for their first win. I think it's going to be honestly a hard watch tomorrow, but hopefully we can get the W there. And I guess now we can move into MLB. We got the wild card. The full slate's out. All the teams are in. All the teams that would be out are out. We got the Mets missing the playoffs. The Reds are in. We got, the Deuces Blue Jays taking the number 1 spot there.
Number 1 seed, baby.
And then, of course, the bloodbath. We all wanted the Red Sox versus the Yankees. So that's going to be amazing.
I'm so excited. Yeah, for all of the Yankees fans that I may have been arguing with on social media, enjoy playing the Red Sox in the first round. Not to be petty, but I'll be cheering for the Red Sox. I just think it's gonna be a bloodbath, like you said. It always is. I think they won the season series. I believe they looked.
Yeah, I think they only
Roman
beat us
Anthony's
twice
back
this year.
healthy. Yeah, and Roman Anthony, they play amazing with him. So you got to watch out for them. Like Aaron Judge has a 205 average in the postseason career. So he's not quite the same player. He does still have like 16 or 17 career home runs in the postseason. But definitely not the same player. But let's get Deuce in the mix. Thoughts on the Blue Jays? Were you able to catch any of the game today? Alejandro Kirk hit a grand slam.
Saw that.
Kirk was kind of the MVP of the game. A bunch of clutch hits. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know some highlights I did see. He had some clutch. I know that I saw the grand slam, and he had another clutch hit later in the game to put more points on the board for the Blue Jays. It really came down to the wire because in coming to this last week, the Blue Jays had about, I know at one point 6-7 games over the Yankees, and then they kind of fell a little bit, and the Yankees caught back up. So this last series was important. It was like really important, and the fact that the Blue Jays were able to go out, sweep the it was the Rays they played, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they were to go out, sweep the Rays, and clinch that first spot, it really means it's important because right now, if they didn't, they could have been playing, the Tigers or the Red Sox with all the possibilities from today. It was crazy. I'm just like the playoff picture in general wasn't even fully set until after today's game. That's kind of what I like about baseball. Yeah. We only had one game that was really deadlock, and that was in the National League. But all the American League games, they were coming down to the wire till today. But I think this year's playoffs is going to be a fun one. You got good matchups. I believe it's the Guardians and the Tigers, and then Yankees and the Red Sox. So it should be a good first round. Mariners and Blue Jays get the 2 byes, so that's good to see. And I'm just ready for this playoffs already.
Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. And yeah, we already talked about the Red Sox and Yankees, how that's gonna be a divisional rival bloodbath. Same thing with the Tigers and the Guardians. Tigers were pretty much the top team for 3/4 of the year, or at least a top 3, top 4 team every time we did power rankings. Then the Brewers definitely emerged, but they got leapfrogged by the Guardians. The Guardians have home field advantage now, so that's huge. Being the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. But for me, I love it because that's the side of the bracket I wanted the Mariners to have to face, because they swept the Tigers for the All-Star break. Granted, that was a long time ago, but the Mariners have only gotten better since then. And then the Guardians, I'd actually probably rather play the Tigers than the Guardians, but I say that, but then I also worry about Tark Skubal. So, may the best man win, and I hope, honestly, that it's the Mariners and the Blue Jays in the ALCS. My aunt, who's Canadian and is a huge Blue Jays fan, was texting me, and I was like, I hope we get to meet in the ALCS. That would be like a dream come true. You want to get into the NL picture at all? I haven't been paying as much attention to the NL, but Brewers get the number 1 seed overall.
The NL either, but I do know that there are some good teams on that side. You got the Phillies, you got the Brewers, you got the Dodgers, you got the Cubs. That, I like to say that the AL reminds me of the West in basketball terms, but the NL, you got all these top teams. Right now I don't really have a winner that I can even predict that can win, because I think everybody has a strong suit. Adam, we said this earlier in the year. Every team right now that was in that playoff picture has a valid chance and a valid reason to go win the championship.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, I mean, because the Guardians were the hottest team. Well, I mean, the Mariners were the hottest team in baseball. Then it was the Guardians.
At one point,
So
the Guardians weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, and the fact that they
exactly.
came back and clinched it over the Astros, it really says a lot.
And I got to give a quick shout out to Jose Ramirez because he's just kind of a forgotten man, and he continually every single year is one of the best players in baseball. Just people just don't talk about him. I think this year he had a 30. I think it was a 40 home run season and 30 stolen base, or the other way around. But I mean, like just historic stuff. And I mean, he's getting up there in age, but that's why the Guardians are always relevant. They can always go on these late postseason runs because they have a guy like Jose Ramirez. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Brewers, who were a little bit more of a small ball team throughout the regular season, usually what translates the best in the postseason is really good pitching and smashing the ball out of the ballpark. So luckily for my Mariners, that's exactly what they have. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. We did just get swept by the Dodgers, but there are 3 meaningless games. We were resting different guys on different days. I just hope, I mean, Brian Wu, they skipped a start, but he didn't go on the IL. So Brian Wu, I'll be watching to see his health, and hopefully he's good to go for good thing we got a first round bye, I guess, because hopefully he's good to go for round 2. And then Josh Naylor, who had a little bit of a tight groin in game 2. But actually, while I'm on the topic, he became the 4th first baseman in MLB history to get 20 home runs and 30 stolen bases in a season, which is, if anyone knows Josh Naylor, it's crazy to even talk about that because he had like 1 stolen base each year for his first 3-4 years in the MLB. And then all of a sudden it was like 14 last year. And then he got up to 30 this year. So shout out to Josh Naylor, or the Big Grumper, as people in the Pacific Northwest like to call him. Any thoughts on that, Ben? I know we've been talking a lot about baseball.
All good. No, I was just gonna say for the NL side of things. I mean, obviously we had Philadelphia clinch earlier in the month, a couple weeks ago, but what a huge letdown for the Mets, man. I mean, they did even end up controlling their own destiny towards the end, and they don't even make it. Pete Alonso in the last press conference with the team in the last game says that he's going to test out free agency. So we'll see where Pete Alonso, Polar Bear, ends up. But, that's going to be a sad, I feel like, departure. But, arguably we'll see who, takes this first base spot for the Mets. But honestly, not terrible year for the Mets, considering they did win games, but obviously you spend $700 million on a player, you'd hope to at least make the playoffs. But
Yeah.
Lindor still one of the best players in baseball, in my opinion. Shout out to the Puerto Rican GOAT, but just not what you want to see from the Mets, and they blew it. They blew it.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to sum it up. They blew it because they were one of the best teams in baseball for the first half of the year for sure. Then they were kind of iffy. Just that bullpen, back into the bullpen was not reliable. And yeah, you don't want to have that crazy downturn to end the year because that's not what you want to see going into next year. Like you said, could lose a couple players, could lose the Polar Bear, also one of my favorite names in favorite nicknames in baseball, but I want also, I'll just say really quick that the Mariners need to sign Josh Naylor. They could do it like 30 seconds from now. That would make me really, really happy, so I don't have to worry about it. But if the Mariners don't re-sign Josh Naylor, it's going to be like the biggest franchise mistake in quite a while after so much positivity. But if somehow they don't, the Polar Bear is also, he'd be a nice addition on the Mariners as well. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch this postseason. You guys want to talk about the MVP race real quick? Or MVP races?
I think that's the big dumpers to take,
Packs.
No, I don't the Yankees fans think.
The seasons that he's had this year,
I
haven't seen a catcher do that, in a while. And the fact that he's doing that, and he's already, Adam, what record did he just recently break?
He just got to 60 home runs, but I mean, all of the records he broke along the way. He passed Salvador Perez for the most home runs ever hit by a catcher, which is only, I think, 48. So he got all the way to 60. Then he passed.
Passed Griffey, right?
Yeah, that was the final one. Griffey was sitting at 56, I believe, and then when he got to 57, that was the new Mariners all-time mark. Griffey hit 56 2 different seasons. But Cal gets all the way to 60. Unfortunate that he couldn't get one more. He would have tied Roger Maris, but I mean, he tied Babe Ruth for the 3rd most home runs in American League history, one off Roger Maris at 61 and Aaron Judge at 62. think in 2022. But who was Mickey Mantle? He also passed Mickey Mantle along the way. It was right at like 55 or 56 for the most home runs ever by a switch hitter. Like, so I mean, the number of milestones is crazy. So I mean, it's gonna be an interesting vote, because I can't admit, after some arguments with some Yankees fans, that across the board, Aaron Judge does have better stats in almost every single category except for home runs and RBIs. But what Cal is doing has never been done before in baseball history by the position. Other people will point at that the defensive side of things for Aaron Judge is actually even better. He actually has better defensive numbers than Cal Raleigh. But what Cal Raleigh does for the pitching staff is insane. When he's behind the plate, it drops the Mariners' ERA from 4.5 ERA to a 3.5 ERA. So he's literally saving a whole run right there. So I think it's going to be a close vote. I think it's going to boil down to who, if you want the guy with the best numbers, or if you want the guy that's done something that's never been done before. And then you got to talk about voter fatigue a little bit too, because it happens in every single sport. LeBron could have like 5 to 10 MVPs. Lamar Jackson statistically was the better player over Josh Allen last year. But you see it all the time where the guy that's got the second best stats ends up winning the MVP, just because people like to vote for the new shiny toy, or they like to vote for the thing that's never been done before. So I think it's going to be close. I think there's 40 MVP votes if I remember correctly. So it could come down to the wire, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close to, not to discredit the season that Judge had as well. Also historical, especially the beginning towards the middle part of the season. But certainly it'd be interesting who wins there. Do we know who's looking at top of the NL side of things here?
It's probably going to be Shohei Ohtani again.
Yeah.
If it's not him, it'll be Kyle Schwarber. So it's kind of the same argument where, I mean, Schwarber didn't get the 60, but I think he ended up at like 57, high 50s. But low batting average. And the other argument against Cal, I guess, not that I should be making arguments against Cal, but the lowest batting average ever by an MVP was 267. And Cal's batting average, did I say batting average? Either way, batting average is 248, or it was 248 going into today. I don't know what it was after today, but it would be the lowest batting average by an MVP in MLB history. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, in the NL, it's more or less a lock that it's going to be Shohei again. And it's like, it's the same way that you can make the argument for Cal with like him being the catcher. It's the same thing with Shohei, where he
being a pitcher.
He had over 50 strikeouts. He didn't do what he had done in other years where he was a pitcher. But I mean, still to be able to affect the game on both sides of the ball that way. And now they can get very creative with how they're going to use him in the postseason too. Also, Roki Sasaki, their other Japanese pitcher that they signed this past offseason, who can throw 100. He came out of the bullpen in one of the Mariners games and just looks electric coming out of the bullpen. So that's something that they could look to do too. So it's gonna be really interesting, because I think you got really the three teams in the NL, the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Phillies. I think those are like the main threats. Anything can happen, but yeah, it's the AL. I think the AL is going to be very, very interesting, because the Red Sox could beat the Yankees. Yankees could end up winning and then beating the Blue Jays. So I think legitimately anyone in any of the 6 teams in the AL could end up in the World Series. That's it. Anything else?
I guess that is it. Time will tell. Time will
Yeah.
tell.
It's only
October is right around the corner, so time will tell.
Indeed. And then we got only 2 unbeaten teams in the NFL here, the Bills and the Eagles. So, I mean, obviously Green Bay and Dallas are playing right now. But yeah, guys, stay tuned for our future episodes. We still have Deuce and Michael with our HBCU unit of episodes. I believe we can talk some college ball again sometime soon. We got a bunch of good games over the weekend in the NCAA world as well. And stay tuned.
With a big win.
Yep. And then stay tuned for Adam's Apples returning again soon. Tomorrow, most likely, I'll be appearing on as well. And guys, thank you for another great stream, episode 25 Inside the Locker Room. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We see you guys on the next one.